Thanks for staying with us. There are many reasons why people eat at fast food restaurants, but there are almost always healthier alternatives that can be just as easy, convenient, and inexpensive. We're still talking with Tyler. Tyler, thanks for sticking around and answering more questions.
Of course.
One of the big reasons people eat at fast foods or restaurants is because they are cheap. Is eating fast food really less expensive than going to the grocery store?
It may seem that way based on the price that you pay when you're having fast food, but ultimately, when you break it out into each serving size, when you're buying food at the grocery store, it's always going to be cheaper.
Oh, that's a really good way of thinking of that. Do you have any tips for eating at home and from the grocery store?
Yeah, so a couple things to keep in mind when you're buying foods from the store and you're trying to work on a budget. There's 3 tips I like to keep in mind. The first of which is buy your food staples in quantity. We'll talk more about staples as well.
Okay.
Trying to buy foods in season. Now, if you're not familiar with what foods are in season at certain times, it's something just to begin to familiarize yourself with. It's a nice thing to know.
Okay.
But in season foods are always cheaper. And you might also look to work with sales. Okay. Oftentimes the food's on sale is always going to be cheaper as well.
Perfect. Okay, do you have any examples of some of your fast food staples that you think might be helpful for people to buy at the grocery store?
Absolutely. So some foods that you might consider adding to your pantry would be, of course, soups, canned products. In this case, I have some oatmeal as well, oftentimes a cheap option you can have on hand.
Okay.
I also have canned beans. Canned products are always great. There's no reason not to have a couple in your pantry. Mm-hmm. You might also consider buying things like meat, of course lean meats because they're the healthiest, chicken, turkey, fish, all those things. But if you want to also cut your budget down, what you might consider is maybe trying to focus on some proteins that are plant-based. So in this case I have lentils here. Lentils are really high protein and also very cheap, so it can work really well on a budget. Of course, rice can be made easily in bulk and go a long way. And of course, more beans and that kind of stuff.
Perfect, that's great examples. Can you give us some examples of what we might call grab and go foods that you can take from home rather than having to go to the fast food drive-thru?
Absolutely. So keeping in mind that we live a rushed lifestyle, we're often very busy, we need something on the go to meet our lifestyle needs. But recognize that fast foods aren't the only place offering foods that are fast. You can go to grocery stores, they have grab and goes, like you just mentioned. Again, doing your best to keep it simple. Fruits, vegetables, healthy proteins, things that are easily identifiable.
Okay. There are people that don't like to cook or maybe just don't know how to cook. Do you have any tips on how there are some healthy options for them to eat that don't require a great amount of prep or knowledge about cooking?
Sure. So again, keeping it simple, you can look to bring lunches to work or to your place of activity. But again, I brought these things today to kind of mention that these are very simple items that are easy to cook and easy to use.
Okay.
And so just giving your best shot, it all starts with just giving it a shot.
Okay. Sometimes, you talked about in our hurried up society, we want to go through a drive-thru and just grab food. A lot of times though, a fast food restaurant can actually be a socialization place for friends or family. Do you have any recommendations for people who actually do use a fast food restaurant for a socialization or a family type of gathering?
Absolutely. So we mentioned earlier that there are restaurants that are trying to serve healthier options. And a really smart choice you can make is just going to places that offer healthy foods and offer healthy foods. Okay. It could be a coffee shop or a grocery store cafe or somewhere that you have a healthy choice to lean towards.
Okay. And also, a lot of people know, that fast food isn't really good for them, but they think it tastes so good. I know I can sometimes just taste that hamburger. What would you say to those people who just feel the craving for the taste of a fast food hamburger?
Right, so a key word I mentioned earlier is, of course, moderation. Okay. Moderation in all things. So in this case, you recognize that sometimes it's an uphill battle to make fast food a healthy option, just because health food by virtue of itself isn't really very healthy. So what I might recommend is try to have fast food in moderation. Recognize that it's going to be a treat. Try to have it only once a week or even less if you're really good about it. Okay. And enjoy that treat when you have it, but keep it as a treat.
Okay. So moderation at best for those. Okay, so we've talked a lot about foods, but what about some of the drive-through beverage or drink places? Can you tell us if there's any dangers or any good, bad about some of those types of restaurants?
Sure. Well, the one that comes to mind is, of course, Starbucks and
Okay.
coffee shops. We live in a coffee shop era where really a Starbucks is not only but a block away at any given time. And so those drinks are kind of easy to reach for. And again, a simple mantra is just keep it simple. So
Okay.
coffee, of course, has no calories in it. Of course, adding cream and sugar will increase calories. But maybe trying to avoid the decadent drinks of frappes and mochas and frappuccinos that all have staggering amounts of calories. And if you do like those drinks, trying to maybe focus on choosing a lower calorie milk alternative or limiting the sweetener or things like that.
And in closing, I wanted to ask you, you work at Chaudere with children, I'm guessing. So can you just give us quickly a little bit about your thoughts on the nutrition and health side, especially important for children and their developing bodies?
Absolutely. So it's never too early to begin teaching kids about eating healthy. Of course, a healthy diet is the foundation of growing in a healthy way. All kids need calories, but of course you had to ask yourself, where do they get those calories from? Ideally, it's from lots of fruits, vegetables, whole foods. But in this day and age, it can be from a lot of places like processed foods and fast foods. So as best you can, a goal that I try to keep in mind for these young kiddos is trying to help them know what's good for their body and what maybe isn't so good.
Okay, great. Well, Tyler, you've given us some great advice and some good options, and we really appreciate all that you're doing to help us to eat healthy. So. And thanks again to Dr. Hecker for being with us today. We hope you've enjoyed today's show and learned about your choices for healthier eating. Until next time, stay fit, stay well, and stay healthy for life with Healthy Living for Life.
Healthy Living for Life is brought to you by Mountain Pacific Quality Health. We'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions for future programs, visit our website at mpqhf.org or call us at 406-443-4020. You can also catch us on YouTube by visiting our website and clicking on the YouTube icon. Special thanks to Fire Tower Coffee House and Roasters. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions.